Today, businesses are facing a training crisis. Employees forget 70% of what they learn within a day, training costs are skyrocketing, and workplace injuries continue to happen. But there's a solution that can solve all of these problems while delivering up to 300% ROI within just a few years: virtual reality. At ArborXR, we've helped organizations like Delta Airlines, Walmart, and dozens of other Fortune 500 companies implement VR. So today, I want to show you why your business absolutely needs virtual reality, problems it solves, and how the industry leaders are already using it. Let's dive in. Most companies spend thousands of dollars per employee on training, only to watch them forget 70% of it within 24 hours. And research from Accenture shows that employees forget 90% of what they learned within a month. So you're pouring good money into developing your people, and most of it just vanishes overnight. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a massive hole in the bottom. Traditional training also creates many operational headaches. You're constantly flying trainers and employees around the country, which costs a fortune. Booking training facilities, renting equipment, coordinating schedules. It's a logistical nightmare. And the worst part is that everyone receives different quality training depending on which instructor they get and where they're located. There's a lack of consistency across your organization. This inconsistency doesn't just affect learning, it creates performance gaps across teams and locations that can seriously impact operations. Then there's the fact that dangerous training puts both people and profits at risk. How do you safely practice dangerous scenarios? You really can't with traditional methods. New employees are learning by making costly mistakes on actual equipment. We hear horror stories like this all the time. Some procedures are so dangerous that you can barely train for them at all, especially for someone who's just a beginner. In industries like manufacturing, construction, or healthcare, a single training accident can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment damage, medical expenses, and regulatory fines. And when accidents happen, they're expensive, and they're also really devastating for everyone involved. Finally, traditional training is boring and outdated. Let's be honest, most employees zone out during lectures and forget everything immediately. There's no engagement, no hands-on practice, no real learning happening. Your best people are leaving for companies with better development programs, and new hires take forever to become productive because the training just doesn't stick. VR flips the retention problem on its head. According to EHS today, instead of forgetting everything within a day, employees using VR training retain 80% of what they learn after an entire year. This isn't just slightly better, it completely changes the game. For example, when Bank of America implemented virtual reality, 97% of their employees felt confident applying their VR learned skills immediately. Bank of America used VR to create environments where employees could practice real-world customer interactions and leadership scenarios. Compare that to traditional training methods where people walk out feeling confused and unprepared. Second, it also saves a ton of time. Research shows that VR learners complete training 4 times faster than traditional learners. In the case of UPS, they cut their driver training program from 8 hours down to just 2 hours without losing any of the effectiveness. SmoothSoft, working with restaurants like Olivia Bistro, took their employee training from 30 to 40 hours down to just 3 to 6 hours, using virtual reality to simulate actual kitchen environments where employees could practice food preparation and service workflows repeatedly until they mastered them. Imagine what this could mean for your business. Third, VR creates a safe environment to practice dangerous scenarios over and over. Just like our customer MDA Space, where they use VR to train astronauts and ground controllers for complex space operations, letting them practice spacewalks and equipment handling in zero-gravity scenarios that would be impossible to replicate safely here on Earth. In healthcare, Boston Children's Hospital uses VR to train their nurses on emergency scenarios like sepsis response and cardiac events, allowing them to practice high-pressure situations repeatedly without any risk to the patients. In manufacturing, Mars Wrigley uses VR to train workers on complex machinery operations, letting them practice troubleshooting and maintenance procedures without risking expensive equipment damage. When workers can fail safely, learn from mistakes, and practice until they get it right, it makes everything a lot less dangerous. You can practice that emergency scenario you hope never happens, but you need to be ready for. And when you think about the financials, cost savings become massive once you scale. VR does have a higher upfront cost, but it becomes very cost effective over time. time. Companies are reporting savings of 30 to 70% on their training costs once they've implemented VR at scale. These savings come from eliminating multiple cost centers simultaneously. No more travel costs, no more facility rentals, no more paying multiple instructors across different locations. And there are also company-specific training costs, like Delta, for example, which saves millions by eliminating expensive airplane de-icing fluid usage during training sessions. Next up, your employees actually want to use VR for training. According to a Deloitte survey, 88% of people who try VR training want to continue it for future learning. That's almost unheard of with traditional training methods. For example, our customer, St. James Place, a UK financial services company, saw tremendous engagement with their VR training program. Employees were so engaged, they would practice role-playing scenarios multiple times on their own, something that would rarely happen with traditional training methods. They use VR to help staff practice emotionally challenging scenarios, like working with vulnerable clients, preparing them for real-world situations in a supportive environment. When you consider how much turnover costs companies, that's huge. Now, the best part is that VR works across every type of training you can possibly imagine. Bank of America uses VR for leadership development and customer service scenarios. Mars Wrigley trains machine operators using VR simulations, helping them master complex equipment operations safely. Our client Kellanova uses VR to train retail sales associates, replacing their expensive physical grocery store simulation with a virtual environment that delivers training effectiveness at a fraction of the cost. Walmart has trained over 1 million employees using VR for everything from customer service to compliance training. Parker University uses VR for healthcare education, allowing chiropractic students to practice patient interactions and clinical procedures. Energy Safety Canada uses VR to showcase opportunities in the energy sector, helping address workforce shortages by making energy careers more appealing for younger workers. The possibilities are truly endless. And here's the thing, the technology is ready and the market is moving fast. Half of HR professionals are already familiar with VR training technology. Thousands of companies that we know are integrating VR into their programs as we speak. Modern VR headsets are user-friendly and increasingly don't require technical expertise to operate. But here's where many companies get stuck. Managing dozens or hundreds of VR headsets across multiple locations becomes incredibly complex without the right tools. You need to be able to push content updates, monitor device health, control user access, and troubleshoot issues remotely. On top of that, tracking learner progress inside the headset and proving ROI is nearly impossible without visibility into usage and being able to connect it to your LMS or BI tools. Without proper device management, your VR program can quickly become an operational nightmare. That's why we built ArborXR, to make it simple to deploy, manage, and scale VR training. From remote device control to in-headset learner analytics with ArborXR Insights, we give you the visibility and control you need to succeed, even with thousands of employees. We've already helped industry leaders like Walmart and Delta Airlines implement virtual reality, supporting them in each step of the process, from choosing the right hardware to deploying content at scale. So if you're ready to transform your training programs with VR just like hundreds of our own clients, then make sure to click the first link in the description to try ArborXR for free. And if you want to learn the exact steps you can follow to implement VR training in your business right now, then watch this video next.